Most people spend their entire lives asking for answers while resisting the lessons. They pray for clarity, but curse confusion. They ask for strength, but avoid pressure. They want peace, but cling to chaos. And then they wonder why life feels unfair. What if life was never random? What if every season you have walked through, the rejection, the delay, the silence, the loss, was not punishment, but instruction? There's a brutal truth most people never accept. Life does not happen to you. It trains you. And the sooner you understand this, the sooner suffering stops feeling like an attack and starts feeling like preparation. Every season carries a lesson, not a soft one, not a comforting one, a brutal one, because growth is never gentle. When you were ignored, life was teaching you detachment. When you were overwhelmed, life was teaching you priority. When you were betrayed, life was teaching you discernment. But most people miss the lesson because they are too busy reacting to pain. Stoicism begins where emotional chaos ends. It begins the moment you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this trying to shape in me?" The first brutal truth God teaches in every season is this: you do not control events. You control your response. It sounds simple, almost obvious, but look at the world around you. Look at your own history. How many times did you surrender your peace to something outside of you? A comment, a delay, a person's mood, a missed opportunity. We behave as if the world owes us alignment, as if circumstances should adjust themselves to our expectations. They never will. The Stoics understood something most people refuse to accept. Control is internal. Always. The weather does not consult your feelings. The market does not adjust to your anxiety. People do not behave according to your preferences. Seasons change without your permission, and yet your reaction remains yours. This is where power begins. The moment you realize that no one can force you into emotional chaos without your cooperation, something shifts. You stop being a toy with buttons. You stop being programmable. Most people are programmable. Press disrespect, they react with anger. Press delay, they react with frustration. Press criticism, they react with insecurity. But the person who understands this first brutal truth becomes unshakable. They may feel the initial sting. They may notice the emotion rising, but they do not surrender to it. They observe it. That pause, that single breath between stimulus and response, is where sovereignty lives. And sovereignty is not loud. It is not aggressive. It does not need to announce itself. It is calm. There's a reason calmness unsettles people, because it cannot be manipulated. Chaos feeds on reaction. Drama survives on participation. But when you refuse to engage impulsively, you break the chain. Life will test this lesson repeatedly. You will face unfairness. You will encounter incompetence. You will deal with people who misunderstand you, underestimate you, and sometimes attempt to provoke you. And every time, the same question will stand in front of you. Will you react or will you respond? Reaction is immediate. Response is intentional. Reaction is emotional surrender. Response is emotional mastery. One keeps you ordinary. The other builds your character. This is why hardship feels relentless. It is repetition. Life will keep placing you in similar situations until your response changes. Different faces. Same lesson. Different environments. Same test. The season does not change until the student evolves. And evolution begins with ownership. When something goes wrong, most people search for someone to blame. The boss, the partner, the economy, their childhood, their bad luck. Blame feels relieving in the short term. It protects the ego. It says, "This is not my fault." But blame also steals your power. Because if everything is someone else's fault, then improvement is someone else's responsibility. Stoicism rejects this weakness. It says, control what is yours. Release what is not. If you are rejected, you control your interpretation. That if you are delayed, you control your preparation. If you are insulted, you control your composure. This is not passivity. It is strength. There is a quiet dignity in a person who refuses to let circumstances dictate their inner state. They may not control the storm, but they control the direction of their sails. And that is enough. The world respects this, even if it does not admit it. Notice how rarely people disturb someone who is emotionally steady. Notice how chaos gravitates toward the reactive, not the composed. Calm is not weakness. It is resistance. It is rebellion against a world that profits from your agitation. Every headline is designed to provoke you. Every argument invites you to engage. Every insult tempts you to defend your ego. But the person who has learned the first lesson of life understands. Peace is a choice. Not because circumstances are peaceful, but because they have trained their mind to be. And this training is not accidental. It is daily. It is deliberate. It is uncomfortable. You do not wake up one morning emotionally disciplined. You become disciplined by refusing to indulge every impulse. You become strong by choosing the harder response. Silence instead of argument. Preparation instead of complaint. Reflection instead of retaliation. This is how life begins to make sense. Not as a series of random events, but as a structured curriculum. Every season asks one question. Will you govern yourself, or will you be governed by what happens around you? Most people never graduate from this lesson. They grow older, but not wiser. They collect experiences, but not insight. Do not be one of them. The first brutal truth is simple, but it will challenge you for the rest of your life. You cannot control what happens. You can only control who you become because of it, and that is more than enough. The second brutal truth God teaches in every season is this. Loss is not the opposite of gain. It is the path to it. Most people spend their lives trying to avoid loss. They avoid difficult conversations, so they don't lose approval. They avoid bold decisions, so they don't lose security. They avoid discipline, so they don't lose comfort. And in doing so, they lose something far greater, their potential. Every meaningful transformation begins with subtraction. Before strength, there is strain. Before clarity, there is confusion. Before elevation, there is separation. Life removes before it replaces. This is why certain seasons feel empty. Relationships fade. Opportunities collapse. Plans fall apart. The version of you that felt stable suddenly feels exposed. You interpret this as regression. It is refinement. The Stoics believe that attachment is the root of suffering. Not love, not ambition. Attachment. The desperate clinging to outcomes, identities, and expectations. You are attached to how things should go. You are attached to how people should treat you. You are attached to how quickly success should arrive. And when reality violates those expectations, you suffer. But what if the loss is not cruelty, but correction? What if what left your life was blocking your growth? It is easy to thank life for blessings. It is much harder to thank it for removal. Yet removal is often protection in disguise. Think of the time something ended that you were convinced you could not survive. A relationship, a job, a friendship, a plan you had built your identity around. At the time, it felt like collapse. Months later, it felt like clarity. Distance has a strange way of revealing necessity. What once felt essential reveals itself as temporary. What once felt devastating reveals itself as directional. Loss forces you to confront yourself without distractions. When comfort is stripped away, you meet your true discipline. When validation disappears, you discover your real confidence. When noise fades, you hear your own thoughts clearly. This is why certain seasons feel isolating. They are not meant to entertain you. They are meant to sharpen you. There is a quiet strength that develops in solitude, a mental resilience that forms when you stop depending on constant affirmation, a groundedness that emerges when you realize you can stand alone without collapsing. Most people fear being alone because they equate solitude with inadequacy. They think silence means they are unwanted. They think distance means they are unworthy. But solitude is not rejection. It is construction. Life isolates you to rebuild you. When you are removed from distraction, you're forced to confront your habits. Your weaknesses become visible. Your excuses become obvious. This confrontation is uncomfortable, but discomfort is a signal that something false is being dismantled. The second brutal truth is that growth requires surrender. Not surrender to defeat, surrender to process. You cannot become stronger while clinging to what keeps you weak. Sometimes what leaves your life is not taken from you. It is released by you, even if unconsciously. You outgrow environments. You outgrow conversations. You outgrow old versions of yourself. And growth feels like grief, because every evolution requires the death of something familiar. The disciplined version of you requires the death of your lazy habits. The confident version of you requires the death of your need for approval. The calm version of you requires the death of your reactive impulses. Transformation is not addition. It is elimination. This is why the seasons of loss feel sacred in hindsight. They force you to let go of illusions. You're not defined by who stays. You're not defined by what remains easy. You're not defined by what never challenges you. You are defined by what you can endure without losing yourself. Endurance is misunderstood. It is not stubbornly holding on to everything. It is knowing what to release and what to protect. Release ego. Protect integrity. Release comfort. Protect discipline. Release attachment. Protect character. When you begin to see loss as instruction rather than injustice, something changes inside you. You stop panicking at endings. You stop chasing what is clearly moving away. You stop forcing what requires peace to maintain. Instead, you ask a different question. What is this making room for? Life rarely adds something meaningful without first creating space. If your schedule is full, there is no room for opportunity. If your mind is crowded, there is no room for wisdom. If your heart is occupied with resentment, there is no room for peace. Space feels empty, but emptiness is fertile. Farmers understand this. Before planting, they clear. Before growth, they break the soil. The field looks barren before it becomes abundant. Your life follows the same pattern. The season that feels empty may be the most important one. It is preparing you for weight you could not previously carry. Strength without capacity is collapse waiting to happen. So life increases your capacity first, through patience, through restraint, through discipline, through solitude. You may not see immediate results. You may feel behind. You may compare your quiet season to someone else's visible success. But comparison is ignorance of context. You do not know what foundations others lack. You do not know what weaknesses they are hiding beneath their appearance of momentum. Your season is tailored to you. And if it currently feels like loss, ask yourself what you're being freed from. Not everything that leaves is meant to be chased. Not everything that ends is meant to be repaired. Some doors close because you no longer belong inside. The second brutal truth is this. Life will take from you what you refuse to release. And when it does, it is not punishing you. It is preparing you. The third brutal truth God teaches in every season is this. Discomfort is not a sign that you're on the wrong path. It is proof that you are expanding. Most people interpret resistance as rejection. The moment something feels difficult, they assume it is not meant for them. The moment progress slows, they assume they are failing. The moment doubt appears, they retreat. But comfort has never produced strength. Comfort maintains. Discomfort transforms. If you look back at every period of growth in your life, it was accompanied by pressure. Learning felt overwhelming. Responsibility felt heavy. Change felt unstable. And yet, those were the seasons that built you. Pain is often misunderstood because it is unpleasant. But unpleasant does not mean harmful. The gym burns your muscles before it strengthens them. Discipline exhausts you before it empowers you. Honest self-reflection unsettles you before it clarifies you. Discomfort is the tax you pay for expansion. The problem is not that life is hard. The problem is that you expect it to be easy. Expectation shapes suffering. When you expect smoothness, every obstacle feels like injustice. When you expect resistance, obstacles feel like confirmation that you are progressing. The Stoics trained themselves to anticipate difficulty, not with pessimism, but with preparedness. They understood that challenge is not an interruption of life. It is life. Imagine expecting no storms while sailing across an ocean. Every wave would feel like betrayal. But if you understand the nature of the sea, you do not resent the wind. You adjust your sails. Your life is not malfunctioning because it is challenging you. It is functioning exactly as growth requires. Discomfort reveals weaknesses you did not know existed. When you attempt something ambitious, your impatience becomes visible. When you pursue discipline, your excuses become obvious. When you aim for emotional control, your triggers expose themselves. This is not failure. This is awareness. And awareness is the beginning of mastery. Many people quit at the exact moment they should persist. They misinterpret friction as a stop sign, when in reality it is a signal that something important is being formed. Diamonds are created under pressure. Steel is strengthened by fire. Character is shaped by adversity. Nothing refined escapes resistance. The third brutal truth is that the path toward becoming who you admire will always feel uncomfortable. If you want discipline, you must confront laziness. If you want confidence, you must face insecurity. If you want calm, you must endure provocation without surrendering to it. There is no shortcut around discomfort, only through it. But here is where most people make a subtle mistake. They endure discomfort passively. They suffer without extracting meaning. They struggle without reflection. They push forward without adjustment. Endurance alone is not growth. Intentional endurance is when you encounter difficulty, pause and ask, what is this strengthening in me? Is it patience? Is it resilience? Is it humility? Is it courage? Every hardship contains a lesson, but lessons are not handed to you gently. They are discovered through analysis. Instead of complaining about the wait, study it. Instead of resenting the delay, use it. Instead of avoiding the discomfort, lean into it with curiosity. There's a profound shift that happens when you stop labeling discomfort as negative. It becomes neutral, a tool, a training ground. Suddenly, you are not a victim of your challenges. You are a participant in your development. This mindset separates those who evolve from those who stagnate. Stagnation feels safe because it avoids strain, but stagnation quietly erodes confidence. Deep down, you know when you are avoiding growth. You feel it in the subtle dissatisfaction, the quiet frustration, the awareness that you are capable of more. Comfort may feel peaceful, but it often breeds restlessness. Growth feels unstable, but it breeds fulfillment. The question is not whether you will experience discomfort. The question is whether you will use it. Every season stretches you in a different way. Some seasons test your patience. Some test your discipline. Some test your faith in yourself. And each time, the discomfort is proportional to the expansion required. You cannot step into a larger life with a smaller mindset. So life stretches your thinking. You cannot carry greater responsibility with fragile character. So life strengthens your character. You cannot command respect if you collapse under pressure. So life applies pressure. Seen this way, hardship is not cruelty. It is calibration. It adjusts you to the level you are asking to reach. If you desire ease above all else, you will remain small. If you accept discomfort as part of refinement, you will expand beyond what once intimidated you. The people you admire are not free from struggle. They are fluent in it. They have learned to sit inside uncertainty without panic. They have trained themselves to move forward despite doubt. They have accepted that growth feels awkward before it feels natural. You are not behind because you feel challenged. You are progressing. The discomfort you are experiencing right now may be evidence that you are shedding a smaller version of yourself. Do not retreat. The third brutal truth is this. The very resistance you want removed may be the force shaping you into someone stronger. And if you endure it with intention, you will not just survive the season. You will rise because of it. The fourth brutal truth God teaches in every season is this. Not everyone is meant to go with you. This is one of the hardest lessons to accept because human beings crave connection. We want loyalty. We want permanence. We want to believe that the people who start the journey with us will finish it beside us. But life is seasonal, and so are relationships. Some people enter your life as comfort, some as distraction, some as challenge, some as mirrors, very few as destiny. The pain begins when you try to force permanence on something temporary. You outgrow certain conversations. You outgrow certain environments. You outgrow certain dynamics. And instead of honoring that growth, you attempt to shrink yourself to preserve familiarity. You silence your ambition so others don't feel insecure. You mute your discipline so others don't feel judged. You tolerate disrespect so you don't feel alone. And slowly, without noticing, you betray your own evolution. Growth changes your standards. The disciplined version of you cannot comfortably coexist with chronic excuses. The emotionally stable version of you cannot thrive in constant drama. The focused version of you cannot remain in circles addicted to distraction. It is not arrogance. It is alignment. But alignment often looks like distance. When you begin choosing peace over participation, some people will accuse you of changing. They will say you are distant, cold, different. They are correct. You are different. You are no longer entertained by chaos. You're no longer stimulated by gossip. You are no longer reactive enough to feed their patterns. And that threatens those who rely on your previous version. Here is the uncomfortable reality. Some people benefit from your weakness. They benefit when you doubt yourself. They benefit when you overshare your plans. They benefit when you react emotionally. They benefit when you stay small enough to not outgrow them. When you strengthen yourself, you disrupt the balance they were comfortable with. This does not make them evil. It makes them attached to who you were. But your responsibility is not to maintain others' comfort. It is to maintain your integrity. Stoicism teaches emotional independence, not isolation, independence. The ability to engage without dependency. The ability to care without losing control. The ability to love without losing yourself. If someone leaves because you chose growth, let them. If someone distances themselves because you raise your standards, release them. If someone cannot meet the discipline you are building, accept the mismatch. Clinging to expired connections drains energy, and energy is your most valuable resource. Every conversation you entertain shapes your mindset. Every environment you tolerate influences your standards. Every person you keep close either reinforces your growth or weakens your resolve. This is not about superiority. It is about direction. You cannot climb while holding on to those committed to staying still. There's a silent power in walking away without hostility. No announcement. No dramatic exit. Just quiet alignment. You stop explaining yourself. You stop defending your boundaries. You stop negotiating your self-respect. And you let distance reveal truth. The people meant to grow with you will adjust. They will respect your evolution. They will not demand that you shrink to remain accessible. The rest will fade. And that fading is not loss. It is filtration. Life filters your circle as your character strengthens. At first, this feels lonely. Your phone becomes quieter. Your invitations decrease. The noise fades. But inside that quiet, something stabilizes. You begin to think more clearly. You begin to move more intentionally. You begin to feel less pulled in conflicting directions. Peace replaces stimulation. And peace, though subtle, is powerful. The fourth brutal truth is that growth requires separation. Not everyone who understands you today will understand you tomorrow. Not everyone who supports your comfort will support your discipline. And that is acceptable. You are not obligated to carry everyone into your next chapter. If you try, you will dilute your focus. You will compromise your standards. You will exhaust yourself trying to maintain connections that no longer align with who you are becoming. Let maturity create natural distance. Let ambition narrow your circle. Let discipline refine your environment. This is not cruelty. It is clarity. When a tree grows taller, some branches fall off naturally. It does not apologize for growing. It does not stun itself to preserve symmetry. It grows, and growth changes shape. You must be willing to endure misunderstanding in exchange for alignment. You must be willing to endure temporary loneliness in exchange for long-term peace. Because the alternative is worse. Constant company with internal conflict. If you silence your evolution to maintain approval, resentment will build quietly. You will begin to blame others for limitations you impose on yourself. Take responsibility for your direction. If someone walks beside you, appreciate them. If someone walks away, bless them. But never pause your growth to negotiate permanence. The fourth brutal truth is this. Your journey will become narrower as you become stronger. And that narrowing is not a sign of loss. It is a sign of refinement. The fifth brutal truth God teaches in every season is this. You are not entitled to the outcome, only to the effort. This truth dismantles ego. Most people believe that if they work hard enough, sacrifice long enough, or want something badly enough, life owes them a specific result. They believe effort guarantees reward in the exact form they imagined. But life does not operate on entitlement. It operates on alignment. You control your preparation. You control your discipline. You control your consistency. You do not control timing. You do not control recognition. You do not control how others respond. This is where frustration is born, in the gap between effort and expectation. You studied, but the opportunity went to someone else. You stayed loyal, but the relationship still ended. You remained patient, but the delay continued. And your mind whispers, "This is unfair." Maybe it is. But fairness is not the standard by which growth is measured. Strength is. The Stoics understood this deeply. They detached from outcomes without detaching from effort. They worked fully, but surrendered results. Not out of weakness, out of wisdom. Because when your peace depends on the outcome, you become fragile. If you win, you feel powerful. If you lose, you feel worthless. Your identity fluctuates with results. But when your identity is anchored in effort, in character, you become stable. You can fail without collapsing. You can succeed without arrogance. You measure yourself by discipline, not applause. This is freedom. The world chases validation. It chases recognition, titles, numbers, approval. And there is nothing inherently wrong with achievement. But when achievement becomes your source of self-worth, you become dependent on variables you cannot control. The fifth brutal truth demands humility. You are responsible for showing up fully. You are not guaranteed the harvest on your schedule. Farmers understand this. They prepare the soil, plant the seeds, water consistently. But they cannot command the rain. They cannot rush the season. They cannot demand fruit before maturity. They do their part and trust the process. Your life works the same way. You build skills. You refine habits. You strengthen your character. But outcomes unfold according to factors beyond your vision. This is not an excuse to be passive. It is an invitation to be focused. When you detach from entitlement, you concentrate on excellence. You refine what is within your control so thoroughly that the outcome becomes secondary. And paradoxically, this detachment often improves results, because desperation clouds judgment. Anxiety weakens performance. Attachment distorts perspective. Calm effort sharpens you. When you stop forcing outcomes, you begin mastering process. You wake up and execute regardless of applause. You remain disciplined regardless of immediate reward. You maintain integrity regardless of recognition. This is rare. Most people lose motivation when validation disappears. They perform when watched and slacken when unseen. They persist only when progress is visible. But character is revealed in obscurity. The season where no one claps for you is a season that defines you. When no one notices your discipline, will you continue? When no one praises your restraint, will you maintain it? When no one understands your vision, will you stay committed? This is where internal strength is forged. The fifth brutal truth is not meant to discourage you. It is meant to mature you. You are not owed success. You are invited to earn growth. And growth is guaranteed if effort is sincere. Results may vary. Recognition may fluctuate. Outcomes may surprise you. But if you commit to consistent, disciplined action, you will not remain the same person. That is the real reward. Now the sixth and final brutal truth. Time reveals everything. You can pretend for a while. You can perform. You can hide weaknesses behind charisma or noise. But time exposes character. If you lack discipline, time will show it. If you lack integrity, time will uncover it. If you lack patience, time will test it. But if you build quietly, consistently, honestly, time becomes your ally. The impatient chase shortcuts. The insecure chase attention. The undisciplined chase comfort. But the grounded chase improvement. And improvement compounds. Small habits repeated daily become unshakable identity. Small disciplines maintained consistently become silent advantages. Small moments of restraint become powerful reputation. Time magnifies patterns. If your pattern is reaction, your life will feel chaotic. If your pattern is avoidance, your life will feel stagnant. If your pattern is disciplined action, your life will feel stable. You may not see dramatic change in a week or a month, but seasons accumulate. Years shape destiny. This is why calm people seem powerful. They have endured. They have remained steady while others fluctuated. They have allowed time to refine them instead of rushing to prove themselves. There's a quiet confidence that emerges when you trust long-term effort over short-term emotion. You stop reacting to every shift. You stop chasing every opportunity. You stop fearing every delay. You build and you wait because you understand something most people forget. Seasons change. If you are struggling now, this season will not last forever. If you are thriving now, the season will also shift. Nothing is permanent, which is why your character matters more than your circumstance. Circumstances rotate. Character remains. Life, in all its complexity, can be explained simply. It will challenge your control. IT will remove your attachments. IT will stretch your comfort. IT will refine your circle. IT will test your entitlement. And it will reveal your character over time. These are not punishments. They are preparation. If you stop resisting the lessons and start absorbing them, life becomes less confusing. Hardship becomes structured. Loss becomes directional. Discomfort becomes developmental. And you become calmer, not because life is easy, but because you understand it. The brutal truths never disappear. They repeat in different forms at higher levels, in deeper ways. But once you accept them, you stop being surprised by difficulty. You expect growth to demand something from you, and you give it willingly, because you know now, life is not against you. It is building you.